Well, welcome everybody to my cooking vlog in a thunderstorm. You can probably hear the thunder. You can definitely hear the rain. I didn't really plan for this to be a cooking vlog per se. What I want to do is I'm cooking lunch. I'm cooking lunch and I'm gonna be out here anyway. I figured I might as well take this opportunity to talk about some stuff. This morning has been an interesting morning. It rained a decent amount last night. I didn't sleep very well. Not necessarily because of the rain, but just as a note, I didn't rest a whole lot. Thinking about a lot of things, having some restless dreams. I wanted to tell a story today and share a little bit about my past while I cook and prepare lunch for me and my wifey. When I was 12, we moved into a rental house around, and by we I mean me and my whole family, because if you personally know me, you already know this, but if you don't personally know me, I come from a large family. We have like 6 or 7 kids total, which makes a family of 9, and we were all together for a very long time. I was around 5 when my oldest sister went to college, if that tells you anything about the age difference. And we moved to a rental house when I was around 12. We had the 2 oldest, I think, had already moved out, but the 3 oldest had already moved out. So that means there were just 4 of us in the house, 3 or 4 of us. And I would climb to the roof of the house. There was a tree growing next to a corner of this rental house, and I could climb the tree and I could climb on top of the corner of the roof, and then I would crawl all the way to the peak of the roof in this suburban house. It's a 2-story house, and it was really exhilarating and really fun. I'm pretty sure that I had some of my sisters come up as well sometimes. I don't quite remember though. But I remember I think I bought this at Hobby Lobby, or maybe it was like a gift store thing from a beach town gift shop or something like that. But I had this little toy telescope, the kind you might see in a pirate movie, where it's a literal telescope and you like extend it and it actually magnifies whatever you're looking at, and you can look through it and see things. It wasn't very good. It was a really cheap toy. It was about that big, I think, but made me feel like an adventurer, made me feel like Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. And I would take this telescope, and on summer nights when it was warm, after the sun went down, I would crawl on top of the roof, get on top of the roof, and look through my telescope and try to see things. I could see an intersection over there. I could see houses, obviously. I think I saw a school. I'd look at the stars. I'd look at the moon. I could hear the bats flying around because there were bats in the area, and you could hear the little clicks of the bat My favorite thing to look at up there was a shopping center that, when I looked on Google Maps, this shopping center was like 3 miles away. I want to say it was 2.8 or maybe like 3 something miles away. It was pretty far. But you know those big billboard signs that they put next to shopping centers? I remember it was Home Depot and Target. And the tallest square, the tallest sign that they had was that Home Depot Target combo. And I could see it from the top of my house. And I would look at it through the telescope and I would be amazed at how far I could see. And I would think about going there sometimes. And the reason I'm talking about this is because this morning I sat down to do some quiet time, and I was thinking about younger me at that moment. And I started out thinking about trust, actually, because trust has been something that's been on my mind lately. Specifically, how you build and maintain and protect trust, and not necessarily trust between yourself and an individual. In this specific morning, I have been thinking about trust between myself and myself. And I've been thinking about how I have trust issues with myself. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I have trust issues, not necessarily with other people. I mean, I have some, but my biggest broken relationship in trust is between myself and myself. And I wrote in my notebook this morning, I think that stems from my childhood, where I would really put others first in an unhealthy way. And if you're at all a recovering people pleaser, then you know what I'm talking about. You know how there's times that, sure, you may be putting others' needs before you, or you're listening and following others' instructions and they can count on you. But you're never really there for yourself. And you may be there for everybody else, and everyone else can count on you to always take care of them and always show up for them, but you rarely, if ever, show up for yourself and the needs that you have as a human, because you're also a human and you also have needs, because humans have needs. That's the way we've been built. And so I think that is what started my lack of trust in myself, in combination with the situations that would arise, such as, like, I may tell myself I'm going to do this thing and then I don't do it. Or I tell myself I need to be better at procrastinating or something like that. I need to be better at not procrastinating and overcoming laziness in that way. And then I just continue to sit there and procrastinate and continue to sit there and waste time. And, you know, trust, it starts with understanding. And for example, if you're going to trust someone, you need to believe that they understand you. Number two, then you need to believe that they have the right intention, and their intent towards you is positive and going to be good. And then the third part is what I've been mentally meditating on the most. And that is, if you're going to trust someone, you need to see proof that they are capable and willing to deliver on the things that they promise. And trust gets broken when you expect someone to deliver on something that they've promised and they are either incapable or they are unwilling to deliver. And that's my struggle, is that I cannot trust myself for the longest time, for much of my life. I'm 24 now. For the last 10 years, probably more than 10 years. Oh my goodness, my pasta's boiling over. And finally started boiling. For the last 10 years, I have not proven myself to be trustworthy to myself to deliver on things that I expect myself to do. And that's a combination of procrastination. That's a combination of having the wrong expectation. The thunder agrees. Trying to boil this pasta without boiling over, goodness gracious. And so it's resulted in a general self-hatred, which I've come a long way dealing with self-hatred. Come a long way in the last 5 years, but there's still a lot more to be learned in that area. So this lack of delivering on expectations has led to self-hatred and a serious lack of self-trust. And I've always sort of considered myself to be a trustworthy person, and a lot of my life, a lot of people have counted on me for a lot of things. And in general, I can be trusted to show up and do the right thing, show up on time, and accomplish what I'm supposed to do or more for other people. But I've never really felt that sense of trust in myself, for myself, because I have so much proof of the times that I am not a trustworthy person when it comes to my expectations of myself. So now, in this season of life that I'm in, I am correcting my expectations, and I'm beginning to sense a lot of confidence. I'm getting to build a lot of confidence in myself and what I am capable of delivering on. And so the way this ties back to my original story is this YouTube thing is a big part of it. Okay, there's a couple more steps I need to walk through. This is all completely off the top of my head, so if it seems to wander a little bit, that's why. So I have a lack of trust in myself. And my YouTube journey is a part. This is what I was journaling this morning as well. It's posting videos on YouTube regularly, consistently, is a part of building some self-trust. It's an opportunity for me to start proving to myself that if I have an expectation of myself, that I can meet and deliver on that expected outcome. So I expect myself to post videos on YouTube. I expect myself to work hard at it. I've wrestled with a lot of procrastination in my life, and I've really wrestled with feeling like I'm just a lazy person and feeling a lot of self-condemnation towards myself because of the amount of procrastination that I can do. But I'm reminding myself more and more and more lately that I am not a lazy person, even though externally some people may look at my life and say, why don't you stop being lazy, stop being selfish, and go get a real job, you know? Being a YouTuber is not a real job. Being an artist isn't a real job. It takes so long and forever to actually be able to make anything like that work as a real job. So just give up on it and go do something that is actually profitable and helpful for society, you know? Hang on. I need to dump this water out. I'm not going to stop recording. All right. The full circle moment here is where my mind was at when I was between 12, 13, 14 years old. Okay? And like I said at the start of the video, I was physically moving into this new house, and I would like to go on top of roofs and look at stars and moons and listen to bats. Mentally and emotionally, I was, gosh, where do I even begin? Well, let me say this. It was around that time I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I got pretty enthralled with the idea of posting on YouTube. That's where I learned my first curse words, was from watching YouTubers play video games. Actually, correction, my very first curse word was from reading The Hunt for Red October. They had the F word in The Hunt for Red October, the book, not the movie. I don't remember if the movie has it. I watched the movie first, and then I read the book, and they had an F word, and I was like, what is this word, huh? But anyway, I started hearing it spoken when I started watching YouTubers that I liked. Yeah, so I started watching YouTube, and I started watching a lot of it. It was really, really entertaining. And I started asking myself, what if I could do that, you know? Started getting curious about, like, if I could be a YouTuber myself. And I never acted on it. I don't want to spill chicken water everywhere. Jeez. Okay, I also need to strain this, I think. Oh no, am I getting it on my hand? I am. Ugh. Yuck. I just want the chicken, I don't want all the water. Yeah, so I became interested in being a YouTuber. I had no idea where to start. And just to clue you in on where I was mentally and emotionally, I had absolutely no courage to ask for help. And the reason I say courage and not stupidity, because if you need help, guys, ask for help. Like, have some humility. Ask for help. But in this situation, I didn't have the courage. And what I mean by that is I didn't have the guts to ask my parents for help with something like this, like getting a camera or learning some editing skills or anything like that. I didn't have the courage to ask them for help with it because around that same time, I was already experiencing moments in my life where I would ask them for help, or I would want to do something with my life, and they would be extremely discouraging. And that is, unfortunately, one of the reasons why I do my best to avoid, not interactions in general, but that's one of the first hurtful things that caused me to really separate from my biological family, is the fact that so many times I would express interest or desire in something, and I would be either ridiculed, mocked, or best case scenario, just sort of treated like I was being strange and it wasn't worth it and I needed to give up on it. Worst case scenario, I would be told that that's not a godly thing to do and you shouldn't do it. And so when you're a preteen, an early teenager, and you get told enough times that something that you want to do or something that you're interested in or curious about is ungodly and you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't want to do it, or, best case scenario, you just get kind of mocked and teased about it, you learn pretty quickly to not bring it up. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You learn pretty quickly, don't bring it up. Don't ask. Don't talk about it. Just keep it hidden, keep it secret. I did not feel safe to express my desire to become a YouTuber. All I could do was just continue to watch other YouTubers do what I kind of wanted to do and just put it off. I told myself all of the reasons why I shouldn't or couldn't try. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the skills. I don't have the charisma, And all of those may be true, but the truth of the matter is, guys, the things you tell yourself are not the real reason why you can't overcome a challenge. The reason you can't overcome certain challenges in your life is because you're not willing to believe that you have the capacity to. And you don't have the courage to take steps to make it happen. Which I didn't. And it is one of my regrets. And so, basically the story I want to tell you is I want you to envision this moment where 12-year-old Reagan is sitting on the roof, looking at the stars, looking at the moon, looking at the shopping plazas that he can see from his house top. That's good. That's yummy, but it's not hot. It kind of sucks. I need you to warm up. So pretty much just imagine young Reagan is sitting up there and he's starting to go through the things that he went through. And he finds the roof to be his first real taste of freedom and independence. It's something a little bit dangerous, something free. You're all alone up there. You're above the world. You're separated from it. And then I want you to imagine 24-year-old Reagan climbs the same tree, gets on top of the roof, and sits down and just has a conversation with his younger self. And that's what I was journaling about. That's what I was envisioning. I closed my eyes this morning. I covered my eyes so that it was dark. And in my mind's eye, I went there and had a conversation with myself. And I want to tell this story simply to be an example and an encouragement and to share some vulnerability with you and tell you that as an older person, it's my responsibility to go speak to who I was and be the motivation, the inspiration, the encouragement, the wisdom that my younger self never got. And I had a chance to practice that today. And that's been on my mind this morning. Even if I'm still wrestling with some of the same struggles today, I took that opportunity to climb up that roof and tell myself, hey, I see you, and I see all the mistakes that you have done, all the things that you're going to do that are going to cause so much regret, pain, confusion, and heartache in your life. All the mistakes that you think are going to count you out and make you unworthy to be even considered. I see that. I remember it. You can't hide it from me like you're hiding it from everybody else. Because I lived it. That was me. And I see the feelings. I remember the feelings that you're feeling. I remember feeling that if only they knew what was really going on in your mind and in your heart, they would shun you, cut you out, they would mock you, and kick you out of any friendship circle that you ever had. That if they really knew the real you, they would want to have nothing to do with you. I see that you feel that you have to hide that to protect yourself. I see you that you feel like you have to pretend like you are not actually thinking and feeling those things, even though you really are. I see all of the things that you're saying, doing, thinking, and feeling right now and in the next 5 years of your life. When all of the worst things that ever happened to you are starting to begin right now, I see you, I acknowledge your feelings, and you need to know that I love you. You need to know that you are still lovable, and you are still beautiful, and you are still worthy to be loved. In that moment, in this very moment, in the moment that you feel the most unworthy, you are still loved. So, yeah. The truth is, you guys, sometimes no one's going to say that to you. And sometimes you have to be the first person to say that to yourself. And like I said earlier, I believe that it's my responsibility as the older adult to go be the adult in my life that I needed and I never had. Because my younger self deserves that. He needs it. He needs somebody to tell him that he's still worthy to be loved. He needs somebody to tell him that they see the inner working of his mind and heart and they still love him. Because nobody in his life was. Nobody in his life was telling him that they still loved him, and nobody in his life was telling him that he was safe enough to even be honest about what was going on. So of course they can't tell him that they love him if they don't even know what's going on. So I don't really have a real conclusion to this other than telling you the peace that comes from starting to be trustworthy for yourself is unimaginable. That if you can start, I really believe that if I can start to trust myself, to act on the things that I expect myself to do, and if I can trust myself to have the right expectations, and if I can trust myself to love myself even if I make mistakes, and I can speak life, hope, motivation, inspiration to my younger self, man, there's almost nothing in this world I can't do. I could do anything if I set my mind to it. So I hope that helps. I hope that encourages you. I hope that gives you a glimpse into my mentality and my inner working. This food is ready and the rain's slowing down. So I'm about to go devour with my wife. So I'm blessed in this moment to be able to look back and see that a lot of my fears and a lot of my hopes have been dealt with. A lot of my fears never came true, and a lot of my hopes actually did. And if you're not to that point yet, don't give up, because you will get to that point someday. That you look back and you say, all of my worst fears never came true, and all of my hopes, I'm currently living them. Because if it can happen for me, it can happen for you. So don't give up.